Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Grow with Evergreen. Today, my guest is Ashley. Ashley runs a new business. It's called Aura Surfaces, and they sell high-end surface coverings. What are they, you may be wondering? I was asking myself the same question. Stick around and you will find out. This is a new business, and his customers are both high-end homeowners as well as architects and house builders. It's a new business. He's got some key marketing challenges, and he wants to grow and hit that first million in the next 18 months. Can we help him do it? We're certainly going to try. Let's get into it. Welcome to Grow with Evergreen, the podcast designed to help you grow your business by providing practical insights into all things paid media, creative, and digital strategy. Every episode, we help home, garden, and lifestyle brands with their growth challenges by delving into their business, dissecting what they're doing, and defining a digital growth strategy they can take and deploy into their business. Let's get into it. Right, welcome back, everyone. So today's going to be a really interesting conversation. As I say, we've got a business that sells high-end surface coverings. Now, just to paint a picture for you, if you imagine that when you go into someone's house or you go into an amazing restaurant and you look at the aesthetic on the walls and on the ceilings and you think, this is incredible. You know, maybe it's floral, or it really is looking, it's not normal. It's absolutely very, very, very impressive. This is what Aura Surfaces do. I've had a look at their website. They do some really interesting, quirky, a little bit different, but very luxurious stuff. Ashley's on the call today. It's a new business. It only launched in February of this year. So it's only been going a little while. He's already doing £40,000 a month in turnover, which is some going after a few months. He's got his challenges, and I'm going to run you through them. But before I do, I wanted to share something that's very exciting, because by the time this goes out, we, as in Evergreen, will have published our home and garden report. And I want to just explain what this is, because most of our audience are home and garden SMEs, small businesses that are keen to grow. Now, so what we've been working on in the background, yes, how do we find the time to do all this stuff? I don't know. But we have been working on a report, a kind of a state of the nation report on the home and garden style, home and garden sector specifically, where we have unpicked every facet of paid media and marketing, what's working in the sector, what isn't, what trends we're seeing, just a real deep dive into everything paid media and marketing, specifically within this sector. If you are in this sector, you are going to want to see this report. There is nothing like it that is as focused and as detailed. It's been a labor of love for the entire team here. Huge amounts of time and effort have gone into this, loads of research. It's probably the best report I think we've ever produced. And you can get your hands on it. I'm going to include the link to it in the description of this episode. It's a real kind of, as you say, state of the nation report on all things home and garden. So if that's you, if you're in this space, you are going to want to see this report to get your hands on what's working, what's not, what the future is going to look like, what's happening in the wider thing. Because I know a lot of brands, you're in your bubble, you're in your own world. If you want to know what's happening outside of your own four walls, you need to check out this report. So make sure you do that. Now, back on to our guest today. Ashley is joining us. I'm going to run you through his challenges and where his business is. As I said, he only started in February. He's told me that his plan, he wants to get this first year, he wants to do 700,000 turnover, and he looks like he's right on course for doing that, which is amazing. He's been in this sector, he'll tell us himself, but he's been in this space for a long, long time. So he's got a lot of history, a lot of experience in this space. He's started this new venture, and it looks like it's going great guns. He wants to do 700,000 this first year, and then pass that million in that second year. And I know a lot of retailers would love to do those kind of numbers and push on in a similar fashion. Currently, he's doing about 40K monthly revenue, 4 team members. He's given his 3 challenges. The first one is really just, he wants to know his challenges are kind of all mixed in together. He wants to know, how does he grow this venture? What does the direct-to-consumer side need to look like? And from a digital perspective, from a paid perspective, what can he do? How can he do it? He wants to discuss strategy. Brilliant. I can talk that all day long. This might be a long one, chaps. And then his third one is just, frankly, knowing what to do and when to do it. And I think that is such a great challenge, because how many brands can relate to that? There's so many things seemingly you could and you should do. Everything seemingly needs to be done yesterday, but actually just having it and saying, look, I just don't know what to do. What do I need to do? And when do I need to do it? Great challenge. In terms of the platforms he's using right now, Pinterest and Instagram, that's what he's noted down. He's a fairly modest spend so far. He's only spending a few £100s on his marketing activity right now. So it's very light touch. So we'll get more into that and find out what and why and how. What he wants to be known for is a brand that provides luxury high-end surface coverings. And he's put in here, interestingly, in the local community. So what I want to understand is, and what we'll be asking him is, well, why only local? What's his plan? Does he plan to go national? Does he plan to go beyond that? Or does he want to stick within his immediate vicinity? So that's going to be interesting. He's also noted that when his business is finished, he's going to have a collection of high-end boutique studios situated around the country. So that's how we're going to go from this local focus to a national focus. In what time period? How is he planning to do that? That's going to be quite interesting. Then he's got a few questions. Specifically, he wants to, so he's interested, he's hesitant to have anyone external work on his marketing. So he by his own admission, he's like, I want to do it internally. I don't want an agency. I don't want someone supporting. So, what's my take on having a third party? It might not be what you think I'm going to say. So stay tuned and we'll get into that. He's also said, what is the best strategy to promote a small local business? Again, there's that word local. And then what is the number one recipe for success? So a few questions, some great challenges. And I know a lot of people will be able to relate to this. And I think this one's going to be particularly interesting because it's effectively a startup. So it's how, from a startup, how do you take those first tentative steps within digital, within paid, and really ramp things up from a marketing perspective? It's going to be good fun. Should we get him on? Let's do it. Ashley, my friend, are you there?
I am. Thank you very much.
There you are, sir. How are you doing? You well?
Very well. And yourself?
Really, really good. Yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for jumping on the Grow with Evergreen pod. Very nice to have you. Before we go any further, do you want to just spend 30 seconds? Who are you? What do you do? Over to you.
So my name's Ashley. I've spent as long as I care to remember surrounded by surface coverings, tiles and all sorts of things. And for the last 18 months, I've been searching far and wide for the most innovative products and the most luxurious products and bringing them all in under one roof. And the hopes is that we'll be like a sweet shop for interior designers and people that are building their dream homes.
Okay. Amazing. Okay. And so what have you been over the last few months since you started in February, what have the last few months looked like? What have you been doing? How have you won the business that you've won so far? Just paint a picture for us.
So a lot of it is obviously it's been done through contacts that I've gained over my time in the industry. We haven't really marketed the brand yet. We put out our first reel yesterday because we're sort of nearly ready for the launch. So we'll tease the launch. But yeah, a lot of it's been done on sort of through connections that I've gained over the years in the industry, really.
Okay, good stuff. And you said in our little pre-chat that at the moment your customers are a combination of you've got the high-end kind of homeowners, the people that really care about the aesthetic within their homes, so those sort of luxury homes is you're doing some, and then obviously you've got the obvious one, I think, which is the architects, the home builders, and so on, and you've got a bit of a split between them. But you also mentioned that you've got a particular focus on the hospitality industry. What do you want to just expand on that a little bit?
So yeah, I got to a point where I wanted to come to work and enjoyed what I do. So then I thought to myself, okay, what do I enjoy doing? I like going to nice places. I like eating in nice restaurants. I like going to nice spas, which then got me thinking about, well, why not try and work in those industries? So it's really nice to work with designers to create these luxury spas and these amazing hotels, these beautiful restaurants, because the aesthetics and the job satisfaction at the end of the day, when it's all the dust has settled and everybody goes in and starts enjoying it, is really uplifting. And it's good for social media because the aesthetics are good.
Yeah. So in terms of your service offering then, just so I properly understand this, is it a true end-to-end service? So what's the typical conversation that someone would come in? What are they saying? Do they know what they want, or are they coming in and saying, look, this is a blank canvas, we don't know? How does it work?
There's a lot of people that have spent so much time searching on the internet. They thought they knew what they wanted, and they end up coming to us with all these crazy, wonderful, wacky ideas. And sometimes we change their mind, and sometimes they know. So some people know exactly what they want. They want a black tile with a gold vein running through it in the bathroom. They
Right.
want this, they want that. And some people come to us and they say, "We're building this house. This is the kind of look and feel we're going for. Can you help us?"
Right.
So
Okay.
it's kind of you sort of you've got to prepare for every eventuality, really.
Right. And so, but you provide the design, the consultation through to then the actual, the manufacture, the installation, everything. It's full end to end, right? You do everything.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. So, okay. So I want to delve straight into these marketing challenges then, because essentially I just want to you use this next half hour to pick my brains on how you can grow this business. So the first marketing challenge you said is just about growing the brand. So, and I want to look at the localization that you mentioned. So, what does the current marketing activity look like, and what are you wanting to do? Where do you want to take this thing? And we'll sort of unpick it from there.
Okay. So I want to, when I say local, that's more for the retail clients
Yeah.
because where I am, luckily, I'm in quite an affluent area. There's some nice properties around and people like nice things. So when I say local, I want all the local within a 15, 20 mile radius of where we are situated to
Yep.
be like, let's go there. That's the place to go.
And have you got a place for them to actually physically go? Have you got a showroom?
Yes,
You've
yes,
got an
yes.
actual show. Is it just the one at the minute?
Yeah, it's just the one at the
And
minute,
where is
yeah.
that?
It's in Wivelsfield Green, just at the bottom of the downs.
Okay, fine. Right. So you've got a physical showroom. So okay, so that's what you mean by local. Fine.
Yeah.
So then what are you doing to get people to get footfall into those stores right now? What marketing activity are you actually doing right now?
Right now, we're doing absolutely nothing because we're not quite ready to launch.
Okay.
We will be launched, but what's probably more helpful is for me to say what we plan on doing.
Sure, go
So
for it.
we're in the process. We've got a database of customers that we've sort of built up over the years for other things, and we will sort of go out to them and more. It's more B2B, so we'll do a series of open events.
Okay.
Send out personalized invitations to the businesses. So my idea behind this, and this is where you might be helpful, is we'll send them a nice invitation in a lovely envelope,
Yep.
personalized to them with their brand on it, their logo on it.
Mm-hmm.
There will then be a QR code to a short 30-second YouTube video of me standing there saying, "Dear Mr. Smith,
Yep.
we would really like to invite you to come to one of our launch events. Here's the address, here's the time and date, etc., etc." So
Right.
that's one of the ideas to get the B2B. And then we will, on the social side of things, which will probably target more the high-end retail side, we will just create reels, videos with me in it, trying to build up trust so we
Sure.
know what we're talking about within our industry.
Okay, makes sense. Okay. No ads in there. You're not planning
Not
to
at the
use ads.
moment, no. We do plan on using ads, and we will need to use ads.
Yeah. 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 So I think, well, firstly, so I think the offline stuff, the physical, love that. Lumpy mail, fantastic. I think absolutely do that. We do that. We advocate, we get our clients doing that. We don't do it for them, but we tell our clients, to do that, particularly if you know who you're targeting. I could do it in a fun and quirky and unusual way because that is, a great way of standing out. So I think the physical mail, brilliant. I think the more effort you can put into that, we too have used campaigns where we've sent physical mail and then used a QR code. So I think that is a great shout. I love that. I think when it comes to marketing locally and when you've got a very specific target geographic area in mind, I do think ads play, particularly for a small business, I think ads can play a huge role because with ads, you can, so if we look at Google ads, for example, you can target very specifically a set radius, a set area. And the big thing to remember with say search over say a social or even a physical mail is you're going to only show, if you do it right, for the people that are actively looking for your product. So with physical mail you're sending out, you don't know that they are interested in, the product that you're offering. Essentially, you have no idea if they've got a project or are thinking about this. So it's, you're going to capture maybe 1 in 100 that might be considering this, if that. And the same is true for social. So if you're putting out the content, again, if you've got an audience, or if you need to build an audience, educational content, aspirational content to get, to really showcase this is what your room could look like. This is what your restaurant could look like. 100%. I think Pinterest is an absolute obvious, and Instagram are two fantastic places you should be, because it's just, quite literally just show the product. And that will be great for building a following and inspiring and slowly but surely building up yourself as an authority in the space. But if you want to drive leads, both, and what you mean by, just to be clear, by retail, you mean the high end, the homeowners, don't you? That's what you mean by retail customers.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So I think for what I would be doing if this was my business is I would absolutely 100% be doing Google Ads, because you can be very targeted from a geographic standpoint, but you can also, you've got that search intent. So I'm assuming you probably haven't, because it's fairly early, but what I'd be doing is assuming you're tracking, you've got Google Ads, Google Analytics set up, you're tracking traffic. Do you know what Google Search Console is?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Did you spend any time looking at that, looking at how people search for the brand?
Not as much as I should, no.
That is where I would go. So if you go into your Google Search Console, look at your search terms. You're not going to have a huge amount of data because you're a small business and you've only been going a little while. But if you have a look into that, and similarly have a look at some of your competitors, you can, and you might need someone else to do it, someone that can look at it, that would have the tools. But what you need to do is looking in the first instance into your own data, see how do people search. You're going to have a good instinct for that anyway. So like, people would be looking for decorative panels or, stuff like that. So what I would be doing is a bit of a research piece. How do people search when they've got this, they're looking for this type of solution? Some people are going to know what they're looking for, but with this, I would imagine there's going to be a decent chunk of the market that can't articulate what they're going to be looking for, but they are looking. So if you run a Google ad campaign locally, you need to experiment and try a few different campaign types, maybe some broad terms to bring in some data initially. But if you targeted that, you're going to capture people crucially at a time when they're looking. So when they are actively looking for the solution. And that's where it's very different. With search, you've got intent. With it, almost most other forms of marketing, you're not going to have that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So I think you haven't done any Google ads to this point, no?
No, not as of yet. No.
No.
It's on the list. It's on the list of things to do.
I would definitely do that. Well, you mentioned Pinterest and Instagram. You're not running ads on those platforms, are you? You're just organically posting stuff.
Yeah, just organically posting. So, well, like I say, we launched the Instagram yesterday. We posted
Okay, fine. Yeah, exactly. So I would be using. It's going to take you some time to get there, but just to paint a picture of what I would do, where I would go with this, what I'd be focusing on is, from a localized standpoint, you're going to need to do some research to figure out how people search. Once you nail that down and you have you're never going to get it spot on, but you're going to have a good, get some themes and some topics for how people search. I'd be running a targeted Google ad campaign set within a core radius. So we work with lots of businesses where they're online retailing, but they also have physical stores. And we always do the same thing. It's get your ad set up so you're targeting within a set radius. What you could also do within that, is the top tip for anyone, is if you're running ads and you think, well, I'm going to target within, you can set different radiuses of your targeting. So I'd be setting a 5-mile radius, a 10-mile radius, a 20 and maybe a 30-mile radius, because then you can compare and you can measure and track the difference. What level of clicks and impressions and inquiries do I get and sales within a 5-mile radius, a 10-mile, and you might find that the sweet spot is 10 miles and actually 30 miles is too far. Or in your case, you get better quality of customer and leads coming from further afield than you do the customers that are on your doorstep, or could maybe because you've exhausted the people that are immediately around you, they already know you. So that is something you can do locally. The great thing with that as well is you're not going to spend a huge amount because it's so targeted. But all the people that are finding you, they are actively looking. I would then be using your Pinterest, your Instagram to retarget from an ad. I'd still be posting your reels and getting all of the stuff because it's very aspirational, and people aren't going to know what they're looking for. But I would also absolutely be doing. Do you know what retargeting is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So running ads. So again, create some amazing ads, videos, to really showcase the product, little highlighted show reels, 10, 15 seconds with a call to action, but use that for retargeting, because retargeting, you could quite literally keep your brand top of mind for the people visiting your website for a couple of £100 a month. It
Yeah.
really doesn't need to be, you won't need to be spending thousands to keep your brand top of mind as they go through that consideration phase. Because that's the thing. If I think of your target customer, particularly if they're searching for the product, they're going to go on, they might search, oh, this is an interest. Oh, and these guys are just up the road. Great. I'm looking. Very rarely am I going to inquire straight away. So what you need to be doing is just popping up again and again. And Instagram and Pinterest is the perfect vehicle to enable you to do that.
Yeah.
Does that
No,
make sense? Yeah.
it's a very good point, actually.
That's
Very
how I.
good point.
So the way to think about it is Google for prospecting. So,
Yeah.
i.e., people that are searching, and then social for retargeting. That is when you're doing it on a budget, when you're doing it small and you're looking to gain those first tentative steps. That is the best way to, if you've got a budget of under £1,000 or, £1,000, £2,000 a month to spend because you're just dipping your toe, that is the best way to spend it is, prospecting on Google, very targeted. If you can do it within a set radius, all the better. Then retarget. And I should mention on the retargeting, again, whoever built the website, or if you've got anyone from a technical perspective that can help, get some help so this thing is set up right. But you'll need to put a retargeting tag on your website so that essentially what you're doing is you're collecting anyone that visits your website, it's first party data because they're physically on your website. They'll opt, as long as you've got an opt-in into them, you tracking them.
Yeah.
You can then collect that data and then you can use that to retarget them. You've seen it, right? You go on a website and then the next day that you see a banner for that company pop up. You've seen it. We all have.
Yeah.
That is what I'd be doing with this one to keep the brand top of mind, because I suppose it's too early, but your customer's going to go through a consideration phase, aren't they? A research. They may be looking at you. They're looking at some of your competitors. Have you had a chance to track and measure that? Do you know what that looks like yet in terms of the window?
No, not at all. I'm not
Okay.
going to lie to you.
No. But that again will be, as you get more data and as you get more customers, it'd be worth asking your customers, of the usual ones, how did you find us, etc., etc. But just kind of like, how long did it take you to come to make the decision, or how long have you been thinking about this sort of product? And I think you might be surprised with some of those. It might be, but it's been weeks and months for them to actually make the decision where they reach out. And if you're not retargeting, you're relying on that click. Because they might come onto the website, love what you do, and go, this looks amazing. They then leave because something, they're busy. And then they might be thinking, well, I can't find that company, and the business goes to someone else. And the thing you can do with retargeting as well, again, it's very simple to do this stuff, but you can create what's called like an evergreen funnel. It's not a brand thing. It's just called an evergreen funnel, where you can think, right, over the next 3 months, I don't want to harass people, but what I want to do is I want to just keep my brand top of mind. So maybe you'll have different messages over the next 2 or 3 months that you can just periodically feed that audience to just keep the brand top of mind, but with different calls to action. So it might be, here's the product, then a couple of weeks later it could be here's a discount, or here's an incentive, or book an appointment, or reach out, whatever. Then you might lead in with a bit of an offer of exclude 5%, 10% discount if you do discounting and stuff like that. But you don't have to just run one type of message when it comes to your retargeting. And not enough brands think, they go, well, retargeting, it's a one-trick pony. It really doesn't have to be.
Well, no, because our customer journey, now I know this, our customer journey, some of them are quick. Some of them are like, oh yeah, right, let's do the bathroom next week. They go and choose the stuff and they're done.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, I mean, you could be talking 2 years.
Wow.
You could be talking a lot. You imagine if you and your wife have been there, you're planning your dream home. You've found the plot, you've bought the land, now you've got to save up to start the build, etc., or whatever. You're going to be looking, aren't you? You're going to be looking, oh, what do we want? How do we want it? Oh, do you like this? Do you like that? So that can go on. I'd say probably as much as 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
It could. So,
and that's where, but that long, that's the relationship, isn't it? You're going to have to build the relationship, and are you doing much email marketing?
Yeah, we've got all the funnels set up and the
Yeah, that's
magic
going to be key for
trees.
you. Absolutely.
Yeah,
The email marketing is just nurturing and building that relationship is going to be key. So, as you say, all the basics for being active on your socials to just routinely, be showcasing the product, I think is going to be great. Email, just keeping in touch with that customer so that you're top of mind is again going to be great. Because the other thing as well with the retargeting, what's really good about this is when you're retargeting, if you've got some if someone, it does take a year two to they might not visit the website, but by staying in touch on email, you might then they might see an email, think, oh yeah, actually we were going to work with that company, or we liked that. They go back on the website even if they've exited the retargeting funnel, because you only have it set up for 4, 8, 12 weeks or whatever.
yeah,
If they revisit the website, that sequence can then start again, so it keeps them top of mind, keeps the brand top of mind. Does that make sense?
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'd be doing. So I think with any kind of marketing is you never want to look at just one platform or one thing, but it's getting them to work together. If you run Google ads, that's a top of funnel exercise where there's search intent, social media for retargeting, capture their data. You can stay top of mind. Crucially, with the data that you actually own, that can become very, very powerful in its own
Yeah.
right. And then if you're coupling, because then if you're doing the direct mail off the back of that, even more powerful. Have you got a sequence where someone subscribes, they're on your email, and are you then sending them physical mail?
Yeah, so if someone subscribes, they would then get um, an email with a GIF that links to a YouTube video, which is me
Nice,
saying, "Thanks for blah blah blah. Just so you know, we're here if you need us. We can do
nice,
this, do this, do this. Book a free, no obligation, quick 10-minute phone consultation to
yeah,
see if we can help you further." Now, if they book that, then they'll get another email saying, "Thank you very much. Here's your booking." If they
nice,
don't book that, 3 days
yep,
later, they get another email
right,
that says something like, "Did you miss the last email?
sure,
Why not book a quick 10-minute consultation with one of our expert staff to see how we can help you turn your dreams into reality,"
nice,
etc.
nice,
So
yeah,
we kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
sort of plan that out.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, nothing in the marketing world is ever finished.
No, exactly.
Um,
And I think that's where if you use targeted ads, you could drive even more people into that sequence, because you've got the sequence. I think that's amazing. You've got that nailed. But I'd be looking to if you want to ramp this thing up and get to that million as soon as possible, that's what I'd be doing, is looking at how do we drive even more people, into that when they are thinking, when they're actively searching and thinking about it.
yeah,
Yeah, amazing. Before we go any further, are you enjoying today's episode? If so, you'll love our other show, Tea Talks. They're short, informal chats where the Evergreen experts and I share actionable nuggets on all things paid media, creative, and digital strategy that we use daily when growing our clients' businesses. And best of all, much like this podcast, it's completely free. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, see the link in the description. Now, let's get back to it. I want to move on to the questions that you asked me about, because it did make me smile when I saw the first one, which was, you said you have a strong belief that, social media marketing, all of that stuff, you're an in-house guy, you like to do stuff in-house, which is great, fine. And then what you asked for my thoughts on taking digital marketing over by like a third party, like an agency like ourselves.
yeah.
Just give us, because you said it, and you said like due to my experiences. Have you had the classic? Have you been burned then by agencies and people trying to support and stuff like that?
Yeah, so you've kind of, in this conversation, you've some sort of told me some things that I didn't necessarily know, and I've never been told by an agency before.
Okay.
So just I won't go into too much detail, but we had an agency. I was paying them £600 a month. Every month you get this long-winded form. What do you want to promote this month? Which is very difficult to know, really.
Sure.
Um, and we were getting posts like, "It's National Cat Day." Well, that's got nothing to do with my business. I don't
Okay.
really want stuff like that. And all sorts of things. And it was never really we never really got any results. And then
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we started paying a company to do Google AdWords, Facebook marketing, etc. And it's still, what we were spending and what we were getting back on it was just not worth it.
Sure.
Um, because my industry is very specialist, what I realized was I needed someone in house to do the marketing, to produce the content and the copy,
Yep.
if you know what I mean. So we've always just outsourced the whole lot and trusted it in someone else's hands and thought, right, blah, 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 given them a bit of information, etc.
Sure.
But what I realized was, hold on, we need to create the copy in house. We need to keep that in house, the videography, the photography, what we want to do, because we're on the ground. No disrespect to any
Yeah. No.
agencies out
Absolutely.
there.
Yep.
You could have a business and you're desperate to shift a certain product. Now, you can't start putting posts out about that or content about that until next month. And by
Sure.
that time, it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I realized. But then what you've sort of said is about this retargeting, about Google AdWords and how it can all work together. Now, that's something that I would be more than happy to outsource to another company, to an agency like yourselves, to say, right, Ash, you're doing this. I think if we do this, 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 and this, you're going to see a better return on your results because you guys know the statistics, you know
Yeah.
the back
Yeah.
end of
It's
it.
the yeah. Yeah.
Whereas,
No.
yeah,
It makes a lot. It makes complete sense, and it's I mean, I talk to prospective clients as you'd imagine, like most days, and I hear the same stories time and time again of what largely what you've just described. And I think the thing I always get brands people to think about is you never want to prescribe before you've diagnosed. And I think a lot of marketers, a lot of agencies love to kind of go in and just go straight in and go, right, yep, we're gonna the answer is we're gonna do this, or we're gonna provide this solution. And actually, where the conversation, I think, for any brand should always start is in the commercials. So overall, as a brand, where are we trying to go? Even in your application for, coming on the Grow with Evergreen pod, it was, what does the business look like when it's finished? Where are we going? And I think having that clarity in terms of what does success look like as a brand is where the conversation should always start. So it should whenever I have a conversation with a prospective client, it's always, what are we trying to achieve? Paint a picture for me in terms of what success looks like and in what time frame. Sometimes they have that really nailed down. Other times it's a bit more woolly and we have to work together to figure that out. But then once you understand that, then you can work backwards from there and actually understand, right, what do we need to do? Because exactly one of your challenges was knowing what to do and when to do it. And there are so many things that you could be doing, and everyone loves to turn around and everyone thinks that what they provide in terms of, right, we're an agency, we provide paid media, therefore paid media is the answer to all of your prayers. Most agencies and most will say that their solution is what you need. As a business, what you need to think about is, one, be clear on where you're going, but two, you need to then think about, of all the things I can do, I just think with common sense, what makes sense, what can you do in-house, and what do you need specialist expertise experience to do? So for you specifically, writing your own content is absolutely spot on. That is because this is a specialist area. It's a niche product. It's going to be incredibly difficult for anyone without this expertise and knowledge to come in and write, and it's just not going to stack up. And in this world now of AI and the ability chat GPT to create content and so on, seemingly it's very easy. I could go in 30 seconds and create me an article on specialist surfaces like decorative panels, give a couple of examples, and it could churn me out something very mediocre that it wouldn't ultimately add any value, but I could do it. Whereas with content, it's got to be that real world experience, that lived experience of this is the product. I know this product. I've worked with this product for 20, 30 years. So in your own content, you should not be outsourcing that. And I think a trend we've seen and are seeing for a lot of brands is that they are doing their content in-house for exactly that reason. I think with your own, in terms of if you can do your own video and your own creative in-house, amazing. The key with video and creative, and I might bring Darren in on this, the key is to make sure that the videos, if you're creating, what's the purpose of the video? You can create video, and you want educational video and content, but if it's going to be for an ad, it needs to be very informative. Darren, I'm just going to bring you in on this. What are your thoughts on that? Because we talk about this a lot, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I think it's a really good point. And I think a lot of the time when I'm seeing other brands, and obviously, as you were saying, we look at brands all the time, what often comes to mind is, so what?
Yeah.
And sometimes when they're making video content, sometimes it looks nice, but ultimately there's no call to action.
Yeah.
There's no place to then go ahead and generate leads. So again, there's got to be a purpose to everything.
Yeah. But if you can figure that out, if you've got someone that's, confident and competent enough to be able to do that, amazing, because the more content you can create, arguably the better, so long as it's the right content with the right calls to action. So I'm a massive, I run an agency, I have done for more than a decade. I'm a massive advocate of brands doing as much as they can in-house and then utilizing an agency where you bring specialist skills in to support and advise where you don't know. Because with a Google Ads and a retargeting, this requires a level of expertise and experience and know-how that you might not be able to do. But I think it's always the warning signs are always there for me when I talk to brands and they say, "Oh, we had someone doing this," and I say, "But what are their deliverables? What are they trying to achieve?" And it's like, "Oh, well, they're just running our ads," or the classic one is, "Oh, they're just posting on our socials, 3 times a week." And I'm like, "Well, what are they doing? Like, where, why?" "Oh, well, we don't know. We pay them 500 quid. They just post about it." And I'm like, "Stop! Just save that £500. It's just no point to it." So I think agencies, whether it's freelancers, contractors, I think obviously, they play a role and they can add value, but it's in those specialist areas where they can support, as long as you work with them or you even know going into it, this is exactly where we're going. The amount of brands I speak to, actually, honestly, where it's like, "Oh, we're just doing all of this stuff and we're kind of busy fools. We're running around, but we haven't got a clear plan and clarity." So
Yeah.
does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I know
It,
I'm guilty of that. We've done it, not so much now, but
sure.
in the past we've done it. Oh, what should
Yeah.
we do? Oh, let's just throw a load of money at this and a load of
Yeah.
money at that, and never track it. Never
Yeah.
actually know what's working.
Yeah.
Never know
Yeah.
when that customer walks through the door. Well, how did you find us, madam? We
Yeah.
got no idea. We got no idea what's working. So that's something that, but sort of having this conversation with you, I haven't used an agency for 3-4 years now,
Hmm.
because I'm employed. I now have a full-time marketing person, and I have now an apprentice.
Okay.
And I just sent them up to AdCon. So they just spent 3 days at AdCon with old John Pemberthy and Stephen Bartlett and
Okay.
whoever
Yeah.
else
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
there.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, so they went up there and had a fantastic time, and then
Okay.
we'll now sit down next week and we'll write like a marketing structure of what we want to do.
That's it.
But then you come in and say, "Actually, Ash, you're not putting call to action on your reels. They look fantastic, but there's no call to action.
There you go.
So
That's
you
it.
need a
That's
call."
it.
So, and this is where, like, I would almost say it's like a consultancy, specialist consultancy
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we need. That's
Yeah.
what we need.
There's a couple of, the way agencies would typically support clients is that you've got the doing side and then you've got the strategy side. So that, and one of your big challenges was just, what is the strategy? I think, as you said,
Yeah,
that's where I think agencies can add a perspective, because when you're on agency side, you're working with different clients, you're seeing different trends and so on. But I think it all starts with the end in mind. What does that look like? Then it's establishing what can we do internally versus what do we need support with. And I think for you, for this business, it's a very niche business. It's a niche product, and you've obviously got there's a couple of sort of key target markets there, but I think for the big thing that I would, if this was my business, is you only need to be famous to a few.
yeah,
The nurturing phase of this is absolutely vital because of that. Because that consideration phase, that I hadn't thought of. It could be years. I thought months, but if as you're saying, it could be years, which makes sense what you're saying. So capturing their data and then remaining top of mind and educating them and adding value is going to be
yeah,
absolutely key. So I would be, if this was my business, I would be thinking, you don't need to be all things to all people. From if I was going to spend money on ads, I'd be doing it locally. You mentioned the end place to have multiple boutiques, around the country, but to really prove the model and get to 1 million, 2 million beyond in terms of your first location, I would be doing localized ads, as we said, prospecting with Google and maybe with Bing as well. Because thinking about your target demographic, I would also be doing Bing as well.
mhm,
then using, as I say, socials for retargeting, keep top of mind, and then make sure that your email sequences are spot on. And then the other thing as well is your content marketing is, that educational piece on this is going to be key. I mean, are you using much? Can I find much video content, educational stuff on your website? Is there much of that anywhere or
Not
not?
not yet.
Okay, but you're
Give
planning to
us
do that.
Yeah, give us 6 months, and there'll
Okay,
be YouTube videos. So one of the things that started I stepped out of my comfort zone, and got in front of the camera,
okay,
for other businesses, and I've done a bit of stuff for myself.
sure.
Because I read a book called You Ask, They Answer,
Okay,
from some American guy. I
right.
went to a few seminars, and I got in front of the camera, and
Okay,
he's right, because people sort of want to trust you. It's like you guys. I'm sure you guys have got video content,
yeah,
and
we have loads. Yeah,
you're doing this podcast on this. So then, if a client ever comes, that you're building up the trust, because
yeah,
you know your stuff, you know
exactly
what
that.
you're talking about, and you sort of build up. And it's very, very. People have got to trust us to know what we're doing, because they're
Exactly that.
about to design their dream home or
Yeah,
spa
yeah,
that's going to be. So yeah, it's yeah, and like I said, with the customer could be 2 to 3 years,
yeah,
but it
yeah.
could also be that they've done it 2 to 3 years ago, and now they're ready to do it again.
Yes, yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, yeah, exactly that. It's and I think the email side of it is so. I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about this a backbone of digital marketing concept that we use. This is a really interesting. It's a very simple framework, but when you're growing a brand, what I advocate, and this is something that if I send it to you after we've recorded this, give it to your marketing team, the people that you said have been at this conference, because they might find this useful. It's a very simple framework that they can run and action themselves. And what it gets you thinking about is, look, we want to grow this brand. We're clear where we want to go. That's the first thing. But then it's about, right, from a digital perspective, from a generating leads, inquiries into the business, we don't want to be overly reliant on any one way of doing that. We don't want to be a one-trick pony. So you want to, at the moment, I would say what you're doing, if you look at your current activity, it's minimal. But there are only really 4 ways that you can drive traffic, visibility, and leads into your business, as well as sales, if you're ecom. One is the traffic that you can buy. Well, you're not doing any of that right now. So
Mm.
I would do that. I would, and then you want to but you're going to need help to get it set up properly. So you're tracking everything effectively. So you've got clear calls to action. You have lead forms and so on, so that you can actually capture that data, which feeds into your email and so on. So you want to have a portion of your revenue and your leads coming via traffic that you're buying that's localized. Then you're going to have a portion of your visibility. And this is true as it will be now, and then it will be true going forward. You always want a portion of your visibility that is going to be traffic that you own. So that's the traffic that are searching for us by brand name. So they know you. Maybe it's someone part of your network. It's a referral. They know you. They're searching for you by brand name, and they're coming directly onto your website. That's the traffic that you own because they're aware of you and so on. Then you've got the traffic, which is particularly important for you, which is that you nurture. So for you, the nurturing piece is the most important one, because you've got to build that know, like, and trust with your target customer, not just staying at mind, but so that you are the obvious choice when the time comes that they want to get going on this thing. For that, email and social media are going to be the 2 most powerful vehicles to enable you to do that. Your email sounds like you're already doing that. I'd be absolutely segmenting the data and really, telling that story. And then your social media, again, social media should almost always be done in-house, because you can, as you said earlier, you can be reactive and you can do things very much. And something we're telling our clients to do, and they're doing a lot of it, is not everything has to be polished. Not everything has to be fine. Show the behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Show the people behind the brand, the reality brand, because people buy from people, regardless of
yeah,
product. And if I was going to be a customer of yours, I'm going to want to know who's Ash. Who's the team behind that's going to be delivering this? Who am I going to be working with to, that's going to be the calls? Who am I going to be on a call with? And I think showcasing that. Do you do any of that with your content right now?
yeah. So, well, because the brand's quite new, we will it will all, in the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks, it will be regular filming sessions, regular
Yeah.
stories,
Yeah.
reel uploads. We've got like a structure of like reels we want to do. So it will be, I can't remember what it is off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
no,
It's
no, no,
right
that's
on the
fine. But
whiteboard.
that is the right stuff. That's the stuff that I would be, doing, because you want to, you've got to nurture those people and stay top of mind. And then the other only other area of wave growth is organic. That's SEO. That's organic. Which for you, just as a you're not at the stage where you should be thinking about employing an SEO agency or doing. You're just not. You need to be
No.
doing a couple of million before you get to a point where you're like, okay, now we're ready to do SEO.
Yeah.
How you get up, to a million plus with this business is is what we've said. It's that Google, it's the retargeting, and then it's doing the marketing. Because with the video, I love the fact that you're already thinking about video and you're planning to do that. Because with that content, if it's educational and aspirational, that's going to work really well for your socials, and it's going to be, make sure you put it on your website, have a blog or an area, guides and resources, have an area on the website where you're putting this stuff, and then use within your email, you driving people back to the blog. Because if you've got
Yeah.
retargeting set up, you're creating this lovely little repeating recurring sequence where you're repeatedly sending them back to the website, you're adding value, you're educating, off the back of them being on the website, they're seeing the latest products and the latest going on, the latest case studies and so on. Then your ability to retarget them with different offers, you just become the go-to in their mind. They're not seeing
Yeah.
anyone else, they're just seeing you. And I think that's how you would grow this. And then all I would be doing is I'd be using Google to feed in more leads top of funnel.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What do you think of this idea?
Go on.
At the moment, I'm currently sitting in a podcast studio I built. The plan is to start a podcast called Building the Dream UK, to get eco specialists in their industries in, a bit like what
Okay.
you're doing now,
Sure.
to discuss all the aspects of building your dream home,
Okay.
and then to use that for more content, etc., to build our brand and to put me as a key person of influence within the industry.
Who's the target audience for the pod?
Probably the high end retail, so the homeowners,
But
so the home.
but what's the hop, skip, and a jump that would if I'm a high end homeowner,
Yeah.
how am I finding the pod? What is it that's going to
Well,
hook me in?
there'll be episodes on renewable energy, for example. So there'll be an episode with a renewable energy specialist talking about the best ways to put, because there's a lot of noise on the internet about renewable energy, what works, what doesn't, and
My
the
immediate instinct is, the trouble is, if you cover so many different topics, you're not really
yeah,
niching. And
no,
if you talk renewables one week, this, that, the other, if you're covering so many different topics, the problem you're going to have is, literally, how do you categorize the podcast? Where does it
yeah, yeah,
sit?
yeah,
How am I looking for it? So I think the medium of a podcast, hugely powerful. It's why we're doing it, but we're
yeah,
doing it. We're talking to home garden lifestyle brands, and
yeah,
we're educating home garden lifestyle brands. So the whole
yeah,
point
yeah,
of Grow
yeah,
with Evergreen is we are talking to brands like yourself, specialized home garden lifestyle space, and it's effectively adding value and helping others within this space, which in turn will turn me, Evergreen, into, continue to build our authority, be an authority and a person of influence within that sector,
yeah,
specifically on the topic of paid media and marketing.
yeah,
So I think the medium of a pod is fantastic because it's leveraged time, it's leveraged content. We'll create this podcast today, and over the coming, weeks and months and years, this podcast will still be getting listens. People
yeah,
will still. So it's leveraged time. So I think the medium of it's fantastic. But something that we toyed with when we were planning our podcast was, how do we ensure that it's just not another podcast? Because like so
yeah,
many forms of media, the barrier to entry has become, you go back 5 years, it was seemingly a lot more difficult and, to create your own podcast. Now it's become easier to create a
yeah,
pod. Not many of them get, beyond what is it? There are like 8, 10 less episodes or something. But
yeah,
I think the key though is, who's the target market and how are you going to tap into them and be consistent? So like
yeah,
for
yeah,
us, the format for our shows, consistent. We cover the same things. We're talking about largely the same topics. So it's that reiteration. Every conversation is slightly different, but there's a core theme. So I would say it probably needs a little bit more thought to make sure
yeah,
that it's going to really, how can you be consistent?
No, I'm glad I asked.
Yeah,
You. Just,
I think,
it's one of those, isn't it? You have these ideas in your head, and when they stay in your own head, you think they're a fantastic idea. And then when you speak to them with someone who actually knows what they're talking about, they shut you down.
No, it's
No,
well, yeah,
it's
because
not.
I know what you mean. I know, but I think, yeah. Give us. I'm just trying to think now if I could think of an angle. Darren's got any ideas? See if there's, because I think there's.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I mean, I think with podcasts, as you were saying, with there being so much out there,
Yeah.
I mean, from my experience of podcasts, there's usually two types. One is educational,
Sure.
which is sort of what we're doing.
Yeah,
There's a focus on education.
Yeah.
And then the other is entertainment.
Yeah.
And I think you have to kind of approach it from one of those ways. And I think in this sense, this idea of the podcast that you're coming up with is coming from that educational side of things. However, then you have to ask, again, like you've already said, Aaron, who's your target audience? And if the target audience is that customer, then because podcasts are usually 45 minutes an hour, are those customers going to want to devote that much time to learn something that ultimately they're buying from someone else to do for them?
There you go. Yeah. For me, I think you said I would, again, it comes back to that. It comes back to actually one of your challenges of knowing what to do and when. I actually, if I were you, I would put the podcast on hold, and I would double down on YouTube content, because I think YouTube is a search engine. And it's a very, very powerful search engine. So what I would be doing is going to town on that educational content, really adding value with you. Get really good at creating YouTube videos. Get really comfortable on camera. Get really, learn, because you'll learn so much when you start posting videos about what makes a good video. Do your research. Look at what others in your industry are doing. Learn from that. I think get really good, create 100 YouTube videos. And I think from that, you'll learn so much going through that exercise that would then feed in. And you might, off the back of that, identify a natural thing where you think there's an angle here, there's a niche here that could really work in a podcast format, which is going to be longer form. That's what I would do. Have you got anything to add?
Yeah, so I just want to add there, just because I know we talked about educational content in video form, and I just want to specify the difference between educational content from a podcast point of view and then from a YouTube point of view, is that in this case, when targeting that target audience of the customers, the high-end retail, the videos are going to be far more beneficial because you can showcase a lot more educational things that they can maybe do themselves. Whereas because podcasts are primarily audio content, you don't access that educational content that they can maybe do themselves as much.
No, makes sense. Does that make sense, Ash? Yeah,
100%.
Amazing.
Wicked.
So the other question you asked, which was the best strategy to promote a small business, I think we've kind of covered that. I think it's a common. I don't think there's a silver bullet. I don't think there's just one single thing that you can that's going to work. I think a lot of the heavy lifting should be done internally. If you've got a marketing man, and an apprentice, amazing. I think that is great. I think having that resource in, you should always employ, someone in marketing before you can probably afford it. I think there's a lesson there. And then I think maybe look at, getting one or two specialist skills coming in. I think the physical mail is a great shout. That was going to be one of the things I was going to suggest, but you're already doing it. So I think all of those things combined is going to do it. I think if you do that and you just focus and don't try and do everything, but actually focus in, come up with a timeline. So what we do, that clear vision, work backwards. I would map out 90-day sprints for this. So I would be going, right, next 3 months, what is the key focus from a marketing perspective? Then 6 months, then 9 months, then 12 months. If you do 3-month incremental blocks, that can be a really powerful way of focusing the mind and actually, getting through things one step at a time and not trying to do all things and therefore getting nowhere.
Yeah. No, great.
Good. Ash, did you have any other questions? Anything else you wanted to ask or you wanted to cover?
No. I think we've covered quite a lot. There's a lot.
We have. It's been good fun. I think it's a great business. If anyone's watching, you want to check it, go to aurasurfaces.co.uk. It's
.uk.
Oh, .uk. My bad. We'll put the link to it in the description. It's an amazing. It's an amazing product. Looks beautiful. Ash, thank you so much for being on, my friend, and best of luck with the business. Keep us posted, and we'll keep an eye on what you're doing.
I'm sure we'll speak soon.
Definitely. Look after yourself, Ash. Thanks so much. Take care, buddy.
Cheers, Aaron. Thank you too.
Right, well, there you go. That was Ash. What a business. Great. I mean, to be starting a business in 2024, it's a tough year out there. He's making the right moves, already doing 40K. I think hopefully we've been able to equip him with a couple of little takeaways, things he can combine the online stuff with the offline stuff and that all-important retargeting. There you go. Hope it's been useful. Thank you so much for joining me on Grow with Evergreen. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.